To achieve the goals, there are three main aims. The first one is community work, where we attempt to raise awareness among parents and the general community of our three target communities in East London regarding the importance of speech and language development in children, for example, for their participation in social home environments. We aim to establish a network of ECD sites and specialists or teachers who can collaborate in our attempt to better understand the demographic of these children, support us in promoting the project throughout the community, and so forth. It also helps to establish a network of regional healthcare professionals. This includes speech therapists, ENTs, optometrists, and audiologists, who can support children identified to be at risk for the development of speech, language, vision, and hearing delays. We aim to empower the target communities to conduct regular developmental, hearing, and vision screening through extensive community care worker collaboration, education and training, and the provision of equipment to conduct these screenings. Develop promotional materials that can be distributed to ECD practitioners, parents, older siblings, and extended families through community outreach days, as well as by the community care workers when conducting screenings at our participating ECD sites. By establishing these networks and providing sufficient training and continuous support, it is our hope that with time and continuous support, the community will become more self-reliant, and that our partner NGOs and community care workers will be able to support learner screening once we withdraw from the project ourselves. Speech therapy, the next aim is speech therapy research and practice, where we aim to research Xhosa speech and language development in young children, as it is the second most spoken language in South Africa, yet it still has the least amount of research regarding its acquisition in home language speaking children. This will help us to better improve evidence-based practice speech therapy service delivery, as speech therapists will better understand how exactly Xhosa speaking children typically develop their language, the sequences of the language development, and how to provide more effective and targeted service delivery to this population. We also aim to support the development of culturally and linguistically appropriate speech, sound, articulation, and language assessment procedures and tools to more accurately assess and diagnose speech and language-related difficulties faced by these children. This aim is facilitated through the collection of comprehensive 60-minute long language samples, which are recorded using sophisticated audio capturing equipment. The samples are elicited and recorded by Health Profession Council registered speech therapists, transcribed by Health Profession Council speech therapists, and analyzed by listening panels consisting of Health Professional Council speech therapists. Then our third aim is speech therapy educational collaboration. It was important for us to include regional higher education institutions, speech language therapists, and community care workers to form part of the regional collaborative network that we are establishing, and that in the screening, data illustration, transcription, and analysis process, we include these partners. We would like to eventually disseminate the knowledge gained to access regional speech therapists and higher education institutions in the Eastern Cape province, as Xhosa is the predominantly spoken language by children in the province. We have also developed and in the process of further developing online resources that can be distributed to various speech therapy groups for consumption, as well as local community members. This includes developmental checklists, parent handouts, and all of them are translated in English, Afrikaans, and Xhosa. All materials are freely available online. Of course, such an ambitious project will not be feasible without a comprehensive collaborative network of both regional and national NGOs and higher education institutions, but also regional, national, international universities, ECD centers, or ECD practitioners working in these centers. This is just a basic outline of what our project looks like, our partners, and then the people collaborating within those partnerships. Our first partner that we acquired was the Maasz-University Development Project, or NDO, which is an East London-based NGO who forms the cornerstone of the project. Their focus is primarily on early childhood development, literacy development, and reducing truancy rates in school-aged children. They already had an existing network of collaborating ECD centers and community care workers within our target communities, whose expertise and experience we could use to support the screening of children. NDO also already has existing working relationships with other project partners, such as the University of Pretoria. This NGO has been instrumental in the management of the screening process, supporting us with securing contracts with local community vendors and venues for community outreach days. This is also just two photos of some of our participating ECD centres. We currently have 12 ECD centres participating over 3 different communities, with approximately 500 to 600 children attending these ECD centres. Then there's University of Fort Hare. They launched their speech therapy program in 2018 and has achieved major successes and also some difficulties. However, this project aims to support the university in student training and the provision of educational materials and opportunities for developing clinical skills through practical experience during our outreach days under the supervision of the project team where support is required. The project team therefore engaged with the institution and the head of the speech therapy program early on to discuss what their needs might be and where the project can further support them. This is a picture on the left is of the speech therapy students participating in our outreach days, and to the right, after training was provided to them on parent counselling, which was a need identified by the university for their students. Then we have the Lyrics Foundation, which is a national non-for-profit organization and is the branch of the Lyrics Group, which is South African-owned and based world-leading company in mobile health, hearing and vision screening. The non-for-profit branch aims to develop, implement and scale sustainable hearing and vision screening services using digital technologies that can be used by anyone, anywhere and with minimal training. The Lyrics Foundation has sponsored some of the equipment being used for vision and hearing screening, and their director, Ms. Tasha de Kool, also developed and presented the theoretical and practical education training programs for the project's community care workers who are conducting the screenings. Then our ECD practitioners. This photo was taken on our first meeting in East London in mid-2023, where we discussed the project quite in depth with them, and where the school principals were also chose the name of the project, Masiphakame, which they translated to "We All Rise Together," because they felt that it would most appropriately represent the project. This is our community care workers. The project employs 6 wonderful community care workers and 1 community care worker supervisor who participated in an extensive 3-day hybrid theoretical and practical education and training program hosted by the project team. The community care workers are our feet on the ground who are responsible for conducting the hearing, vision and developmental screening using mobile health tools at participating ECD sites. As of the time of this presentation, the community care workers have screened over 280 children since March 2024, and the project team can track this progress due to the screenings being conducted on ML tools, which automatically sync with the clear cloud storage database. This is the tools that we are using: the Hearings Vision for vision, Hearings Screen for hearing, and the face developmental screening tool, which has been already established and validated general developmental screening tool for children. However, Dr. Maria and Jeannie from Linde are currently working on developing into a mobile health tool that can be used in a South African context. This is the community care workers after completing their practical training. These are our regional speech therapists. Unfortunately, Ms. Debbie did not want, but if respected, did not want the picture shared. All of our speech therapists are regional. They are based in East London, and they work within the communities that we are targeting, because they are all also employed either by the Department of Education or Department of Health, except for Ms. B.B. Ledidi, who found a wonderful contract in Indonesia recently. The equipment that's been used is the Masiphakame Story articulation tool, which was developed by and is currently being validated by Prof. Michelle Pascoe at the University of Cape Town. The equipment being used to elicit the language samples include various age-appropriate toys that can be used by the speech therapist to elicit language samples using naturalistic play-based methods. And then to spread the word of our project to the parents of the communities that the project is targeting, 2 outreach days were held on Saturdays, which was what our NGO recommended, because they said that's the most likely day for them to attend. Each school brought their children and their parents to the event along with the ECD practitioners. There's a picture of one of the smaller ECD centers playing with one of our community care workers wearing hats branded with the project logo. Each awareness day was made up of various stations for the parents and children who attended. Station 1 is where a trained community care worker and sometimes with a speech therapist will explain the informed consent form in either English or Xhosa to the attending parents, where possible in Afrikaans. The parents then have the option to either sign the forms there or take it home to sleep on it and return it to the ECD Centre principals the next week should they decide to let their children participate. At the second station, the parents were trained on typical speech and language development of children between the ages of 3 and 8 years by University of 4-day speech therapy students engaging in promotion and prevention training. Station 3 is where parents, grandparents, and older siblings of children attending the participating ECD centres were screened using the mHealth tools, which either were or are being used on the children, grandchildren, or siblings of those. The goal was to provide the broader family unit with a free vision and hearing screening and referral to an appropriate healthcare professional in the established referral network where appropriate. The screenings were conducted by the University of 4-day speech therapy students, as hearing screening is a mandated area of practice in which a certain number of hours must be obtained to display minimum competency to the health board. Station 4 was dedicated to providing the children that attended with stimulation play to develop mentally appropriate physical and cognitive games, book reading activities, and storytelling, as well as listening games. The station was manned by both speech therapists and community care workers. Then at Station 5, which was the last station, the children from the ECD centres and all of their family members who attended the events were provided with nutrition and balanced nutritious food, parcels procured from local community vendors under the guidance of the Maasz-University Development Administration. So then the question becomes, what did we learn during the project thus far? Because it is a 5-year project, although we are currently only starting the 3rd year at the end of May. We are ending the 2nd year now. The first one that we want to highlight is the importance of investing in relationships and building your community network early on in the project, and consciously maintaining these relationships through regular check-ins and open and honest communication. For me, it was also finding ways that everyone is comfortable communicating. Because the project is so extensive, it is difficult to keep track of everyone and everything happening, everyone participating, everything happening within this project. So we create various WhatsApp groups, Google Meet sessions. We have spreadsheets on Google Docs, which is password protected for ethical considerations, which is used for communication. It reinforced to us the importance of respecting the community stakeholders, as they were, such as the ECD Centre principals, as they were able to achieve all of our project deliverables and much more due to their already established knowledge on the community, their existing community networks. For example, how MDO was able to connect us with the ECD centres, the community care workers, as well as the local vendors, which was important to our project. Other collaborating community care workers, speech therapists, and NGOs are all located within the targeted community. Their knowledge has been instrumental in our decision-making progress. For example, while laying the groundwork for the project, we had our ECD principals, as we discussed. In the project, we discussed the project in depth with them. They were our advisors on what they experienced in previous community projects. They advised us on how to approach the communities. They also advised us on the languages spoken by the children. So that was really important for us because they set the tone for our whole project during the establishing of our networks. The establishment of a diverse network of stakeholders for the project of this scale requires effective and transparent and diverse communication methods. For example, a big need for our project, although there's still 3 more years of the project, a big concern for the community or the community stakeholders that we are working with is the continuity of the project. How long will this be possible to keep the project running? So while we are not sure how long our funding will last or keep going, beyond the 5 years, we are already looking at options that might support us in funding for the project beyond that. Then looking towards the future, because the project is not yet finished, our goals are still to work on the sustainability of the project. That's where we're looking at future funders, as I said, once our certain source of funding ends. Together with that, we wanted to derive meaningful milestones for speech and language development, of course, our speaking children, to improve our understanding of language development in these children and our understanding of the developmental sequence of the language. Because our current difficulty that's faced by speech therapists is the direct translation of English or Afrikaans tools to Xhosa. But that is not viable or long-term solution, and that's the best option right now. But unfortunately, that misses nuances in speech and language production, as there are certain sounds in the language that the current popular demographic of speech therapists might not be aware of, as it is currently a white female-driven group of people, and mostly English-speaking. So there is a lack of diversity within the group. So we need to develop more diverse assessment materials. We want to continue to develop and implement professional development programs for regional speech therapists, as well as higher education institutions, and then relay this information on a national level. We are in the process of developing a model for automatic speech recognition of Xhosa-speaking children. This will enable South African speech therapists to use one of the gold standards of language assessment in children more effectively, which is language sampling. This technology will allow speech therapists to keep a mobile device near the Xhosa-speaking child during spontaneous and natural play, and the device will automatically transcribe their speech into text. This is being done with the support of various engineers from Maasz-University and Northwest University, under the guidance of Prof. Phoebe de Wet, and the tool is currently being developed in German, English, Afrikaans, Setswana, Sotho, Salabua, and now isiXhosa as well. We would also like to expand our online offering of resources. Then this is the project. Well, at the end of one of our outreach days, just so that you can see what the project team looks like. To the left is Prof. Jeannie from Linde, and to the right is Prof. Juan Bornman from Maasz-University. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much for that insightful presentation, and it deals with children also, and I'm sure that you have many questions related to that. So can we take our first round of questions?
Thank you.
Can you hold the mic up a bit so?
Okay. Do any of the researchers, the actual researchers, speak the language? And if not, would it not be helpful to develop the speech language therapists, or whatever the speech therapists that are in the Eastern Cape academically, to make them co-authors of the study, co-researchers, instead of the people that are doing the work on the ground? Thank you. As a sustainable means of development.
Thanks. Here's another question.
Hi, what a wonderful project. But as you yourself pointed out, that the projects by their very nature come to an end, but funding ends. So how confident are you then that the learnings in those ECD centers actually can continue without the aid of this project? So in other words, how sustainable are those learnings and the improvements, etc., that have been made? Thanks. What a wonderful project.
Thank you. There was one more question on that side, yes?
Somewhere on one of your slides, you had a line about sensitivity to community gatekeepers and their concerns. If you could maybe just elaborate a little bit on that. Who are community gatekeepers that you're referring to, and what would their concerns be?
Thanks. We'll take your question.
Okay, so with regards to the use of Xhosa-speaking speech therapists, all of the speech therapists that are involved in actually eliciting the samples from the children currently transcribing, because we do not have the technology yet, them actually transcribing it by hand from the audio to the visual method of writing, of written speech or written language. They are also in all home language speaking courses, speech therapy, registered and practicing speech therapists. The listening panels that are analyzing the results to determine the developmental levels are also all courses speaking speech therapists. There are courses speaking speech therapists, of course, in academia. However, regionally, the only university in the Eastern Cape, as far as I'm aware at this point in time, that delivers the program that has a speech therapy program is University of Fort Hare, and currently their department is still quite small, and they have a lot of challenges that they face due to only starting in 2018. So at this point in time, it's not that they can't, they are a project partner, but they don't necessarily have the capacity because they only have 3 or 4 staff members that have to deliver lectures and supervise clinical practice for over 100 students every year. So that is one of the concerns. But all the speech therapists that are used are home language speaking speech therapists that are registered, that are trained. And all speech therapists are trained to and qualified to do language sample elicitation analysis and transcription. So does that answer your question, at least, or your concern?
My concern was about because they could also register UP or University of Stellenbosch, so that they're part of the creation of the knowledge and not only they're part of they benefit from the research.
Yes. No. Currently the project has no publishable research outcomes. So I understand what you mean, but currently the project does not aim to publish the results as of yet. Unfortunately, also we are beholden to the funders, so we cannot do anything without and the inclusion of anyone without the funders' approval, which is at this point in time internationally located. Okay, does that answer your question? I understand what you mean, but it's difficult to include people because we need to then explain to the funders why. And in a heterogeneous society such as Germany, for example, we've even had a lot of conflict, or not conflict, but a lot of difficulty in explaining to them why we want to, for example, provide nutrition at the outreach days. At first, they didn't understand why we want to provide food process. So, and we had to that was quite a process to motivate just that. So, because I think when they think of low socioeconomic circumstances, they don't see what we see or think what we think. Okay, and then how confident that Linde ECD centers can continue without the aid of the project? At this point in time, we are only starting to incorporate the sustainability of the project. Our focus right now is to provide extensive training. We are going again in June. We are providing another workshop for the ECD practitioners, all of the University of Fort Hare students, as well as regional speech therapists and audiologists. And the project we are currently trying to obtain devices, in-house tools that we can give to the NGOs so that we can hopefully help them establish with the support of the university. That's our hope, is to have the University of Fort Hare and the NGOs work together collaboratively to keep the program running. Because, as I said, it's an outcome of the Health Professions Council for speech therapy students to obtain a minimum amount of screening hours for language and speech and hearing. But we really want community care workers to remain involved. So that is also one of our outcomes in June, is to have that meeting and continue that discussion. So at this point in time, I don't think the project has reached sustainability yet, but we are hoping to achieve it in the next 3 years. Okay. The last question that we have, sensitivity to community gatekeepers and their concerns. The community gatekeepers as such was not what I expected, but I think that is the cultural shift from working predominantly in North Base and Gauteng and then moving to the Eastern Cape. They were much more receptive to us. But also, I think it was one of the topics of discussion. You said that this over-researched community. It's not a community that has engaged a lot with research or researchers, according to my understanding. But they were open to us working with them, but we had to have the buy-in for example, I refer to them as gatekeepers, but the school ECD, the ECD principals carry a lot of weight in the community. So especially because they are well established, most of them have been open for 30 plus years. So I think there are institutions in the community, and having their buy-in, for example, enabled us, because they were the ones that had the meeting with the parents, distributed the pamphlets. They were the ones telling us how to engage, that they would rather engage with them, and then they will come with the parents to the ECD or to the outreach campaign days. So that was a big thing for us. But I think because we have the guidance, but again, then that knowledge of an NGO such as the Maasz-University Development Organization to guide us into, because they know that community very, very well, all those communities. So they were able to guide us through this process of who do we meet with first and how do we take it from there. So I think their knowledge was really why we could kick off the project quite well.